Hello and welcome to The Stream, an unscripted, unedited, free-flowing conversation featuring guests who reject the status quo in the world of water and beyond. My name is Tom Freyberg. I'm an environmental journalist and content creator specializing in water.
And I'm Will Sarni, a water strategy consultant, doing my part to solve wicked water problems.
Great stuff. Well, Will, it's just the two of us, right? This feels.
Oh my God!
Normally we have the kind of the third leg of the stool, the guest. It's just the two of us because today we are doing a recap of season 2. We need some kind of dramatic music there, don't we? But
Tom, what are we going to talk about if it's just the two of us? I mean,
I know we're going to run out of conversation, right? There's going to be lots of awkward silences, and you could ask me about the British weather. That's our kind of go-to small talk, right? In the UK.
No. I want to get an update on pubs and you rowing and dreaming of kite surfing and I'm serious. I'm serious about the key man insurance.
Right. Say that again. Key man insurance.
Yes, Tom. I mean, what would the stream be with Will? I mean, it's got to be Will and Tom.
I know. Well, I didn't actually know what key man insurance meant until you told me, and I had to look it up. But interesting, because basically there's a bit of context. Me and Will were messaging, and I said we're talking about rowing, being on the water, and I sent a picture of some kite surfers and said this is something I'm desperate to take up. Like, it's on the bucket list. And your response was, get key man insurance.
Right. Yeah, no joke. My insurance agent will be contacting you or Alex or both.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure it's all done safely, so it won't be the stream with Will. Hopefully, it'll always be a Tom. But anyway, we digress very early on, as is customary on the stream. But I guess the reason we're here, just the two of us, is because we've now reached the end of season 2. Can you believe it? We are 27 episodes into the stream, 17 for season 1, and we've just done season 10 for season 2. So we're seeing it as a kind of episodic journey of 10 episodes, right? So what are your thoughts? I mean, it's been a hell of a ride, right? Again.
It has been a hell of a ride. I mean, it is a little disappointing that, we're down to just one follower, after 2 seasons. That was a joke, everybody.
I think it's 2. It's the collective mother-in-laws, right? I mean, I think
completely. Yeah.
The biggest fans.
Huge. And we'll take them. It's been a great journey for so many reasons, and I still go back to, for many reasons, I go back to this, when we had a proper sit down over dinner and cocktails and ginned it up, and you get all the credit for ginning it up in terms of, hey, why don't we do this? And
well, I think it was a collective idea, and we can probably put a lot of the credit towards the alcohol for helping to gin the idea up, right? Quite literally. But we had this idea, didn't we, about kind of Operation Joe Rogan, to kind of create a podcast that was perhaps slightly unfiltered and unscripted and unedited. And yeah, I do believe we've kind of created that after 27 guests, and it still amazes me that we've got to that number. So why don't we then riff just a little bit on some of the guests we had over season 2? Because I'd love to hear, I think, what your highlights were and what my highlights were, and see where they kind of cross over. So
yeah. So first of all, thank you to everybody who's been on, both seasons. Thanks for trusting us to have a fun, unscripted conversation. And I believe everyone really jumped into the spirit of it all. So big shout out to everyone. Yeah, I thought this season was really interesting, in that, we've always had this desire to bring in unusual suspects, people that,
right.
You might not associate in the world of water. And that's how we teed up this season, with Sera Buse,
yeah.
A hydro coach. And I really thought that was powerful. I mean, not because I own a hydro and I love it, but getting someone on board to talk about their connection and passion for water and her focus and commitment to women athletes and equity issues and so on. I found it to be very inspiring and a great way to kick it off. And then the bookend to it all, of course, is Alex Crowell, who I love because he has no trouble calling it out. And, basically saying that, we're suffering from a bit of an echo chamber, or maybe a lot of an echo chamber, where, it's the same people talking about the same things and the same solutions. And I love everybody, but, we can do better. And that was really sort of a good way to sort of punch out the last episode of the season. And if you look at who we had in between, they really sort of connect the dots between Sera being, a rowing athlete who loves water, and Alex, in quotes, an insider who really wants to change things. So
I think both, again, a big thanks to everyone who joined us, and for, I think, not just taking a gamble, but, preparing to go unscripted. It does come with a warning label, and we do warn people ahead of time. But I think you're right. I mean, Sera was a really great discussion, not only about kind of youth development, but female empowerment and the kind of connection with the water. It was quite entertaining, because do you remember in one of the calls to get this thing organized, I think the PR team had strong words with me, like, Tom, don't use the phrase the peloton of rowing, because we're talking about this decentralized trend of fitness in the home, right? And I think I did get it in there accidentally, but phenomenal concept in terms of connecting with trainers and being on the water. And obviously that was accelerated throughout multiple lockdowns. And you're right about Alex as well. He did, it was quite a brutal, but honest and frank, lively discussion around things that need to change. And also hearing from him about the avocado queen of American lady in the Netherlands, who made her money in avocados, kind of investing into water, and what made her make that decision. So why don't we pause there, and we'll take a quick kind of recap on some of the content from Sera and Alex as well. In terms of competition, I was reading that there's a partnership with water.org, right? And so this is whenever somebody rows for 60 days straight, they get rewarded. You tell us about that, because I think the partnership of the two partners coming to let's talk a bit about that.
Yeah, so for every 60 days that somebody is active on their Hydro then donates to water.org and donates enough to provide safe drinking water to a person in need in a developing country for life. So that has been a really huge part of what we do, and I think is great for our members, because they know that, well, first of all, it's bringing awareness about the fact that, I think it's seven, I need to look at my numbers. 1 in 9 lack access to safe drinking water at home, and 2 billion people don't have access to a toilet. And so I think the more that we're able to talk about this, and the more that people realize that their meters aren't just their meters, we actually are helping, and they're helping when every time they get on, every day they get on. And so if they can have something that brings them back, that keeps them coming back, and makes them feel like they can talk about more than just themselves, on our Facebook platforms especially, then I think it creates a dimensionality to the community that's beautiful, and actually is helping something.
I managed to convince my sister to buy a hydro, and she wasn't aware of the water.org connection, and she got so excited about it. It's like, oh, I thought this was, a rowing machine, and now I feel like when I'm on it, I'm actually doing a little something, or maybe a lot if she rowed more. But
as we've seen from World Water Day on March 22nd, even United Nations have said, unless we can quadruple our efforts, we're not going to get there, right? So as a collective moonshot, that wasn't enough, even by 2030.
No. Massive failure of the public sector. I said it out loud.
do you
It's
think?
like, oh, Alex, okay, I walked right into that. I walked right into it.
Yeah,
But
no.
you know, like day zero, the whole day zero narrative. It's
Right.
like, what were you thinking? You know, like you didn't know this was happening. You didn't foresee it. It's your role. It's your job to ensure that that doesn't happen.
So a couple things. We'll kind of jump out of this one for a minute because we only have 30 minutes. You know, I think when you talk about exits in the water industry, a lot of them get, let's say, hidden. You know, companies pull other companies in and you don't really get to see the end result of the success of that company because they're acquired at an early stage.
Right.
But when it comes to, you know, investing in water, and when it comes to this echo chamber, and when it comes to all of these issues and, you know, being able to raise funds effectively to invest in water, well, how do we turn this franchise around? Like, what is it that we need to do here?
And Tom, if I could add that I now use my hydro with my Captain Planet hat on, which, you know, was big takeaway from the season.
Captain Planet, the episode with Iona Dobrescu from the water footprint implementation. That was a cracker, right? Because we knew that she was a Captain Planet fan, and it was your amazing idea. You said, why don't we surprise her? Why don't we try and buy some merch? And then we could so you had this cap, and I bought the t-shirt, and then kind of just into the start of the episode, we said, right, Iona, we've got a surprise for you. So yeah, it was a great moment. Why don't we take a look as part of a highlight?
Fire! Wind! Water! Heart! Go planet!
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet!
Captain Planet, he's a hero.
It's going to take.
So we agree with you about that in terms of not just the new generation, but perhaps older generations getting hooked on Captain Planet and having superpowers. Right, Tom?
Indeed. And we knew that you were a secret fan of Captain Planet. So actually, Will and I planned a surprise for you. So I know you're probably not expecting this. So Will, if you want to go first. Hang on, I don't think you can see it on the camera. And the microphones, the things come out.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous. I am so jealous.
Okay, so you will get Captain Planet paraphernalia.
I'm so jealous. All I could do is have this purple pullover, because Gaia was always wearing purple. But I thought, you know, having one of those bare shoulder dress in winter, it's not really gonna work.
It's not practical, right?
I'll go for something purple. But you guys.
So Tom, what is your Captain Planet superpower?
That's a good one. I mean, obviously, I think everybody wants to be Captain Planet because he was all the powers combined, right? There was earth, wind, fire, and water, and love. Don't forget the dude with the ring who gave the power of love, right? Which could be called the most powerful power of all. But I think if I had to choose water, I mean, we're water people, right? So imagine having the ability to eradicate water scarcity at a flick of a finger. That's pretty powerful power to have. What about you, Will? Which one would you have if you could choose?
No, I'd probably go with eradicating drought. First of all, I hate the word. It's, you know, wildly misleading. So yeah, the ability to, you know, we talked about this, create abundance, eliminate drought, which goes, you know, well with the other side of the coin, quality.
Right, absolutely. What about you, Iona? You mentioned about being Gaia and handing out the powers, but if you had to choose, which one would you have?
I'm very happy with that. And I'm very happy you mentioned, you know, the other power, you know, the guy who had love.
It's not, no, it's earth, wind, fire, water, love.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it was actually called heart. He had the power of heart.
Okay.
And we all remember it like that. Like we remember all these cool powers of wind, fire, earth, water. And then, yeah, that other guy is like, that's not even a power. You know, heart is not even a power. And then again, when I just revisited the whole storyline, it's clearly stated that he was the leader of the group.
Right.
Because without heart, none of these powers actually can be put to use. And I realized, they were giving some really strong messages behind the cartoon. And I think that's still very valuable.
And it was also great to hear about Iona's kind of origin story. And I think that's something that we always get guests to kick off with, right? That origin story, how they got into water, their connection, and hearing about her kind of doing water quality analysis in Romania. Was it in her grandparents' village? And kind of then her journey over to Netherlands and then her work in water footprinting. That was really interesting. What about Fiona Griffiths? Fiona Griffiths. Fiona Griffiths. Fiona Griffiths. From DCU in Ireland. Would you remember we had a discussion about fishermen and paddleboarders?
She rocks. Absolutely rocks. Yeah, I mean, I love what she's doing. I love, not to get like too technical and geeky, but she succeeded in taking R&D and better connecting it to practical applications and a successful tech transfer office.
Right.
And I think her personality has so much to do with that in terms of getting people excited about it and making it real. Just it's real. It's engaging in citizen science and bringing technologies out of the lab.
I loved it. And she said she loves engineers and how we need to get people to love water. It's a very simple, right? 2 words, love water, incredibly powerful, simple, clean message. And even when we did the World Water Day kind of recap video where we threw out to guests to kind of tell us in 10 seconds how to get people to value water, that message came in as well. And she tells it really well. So what about fishermen and paddleboarders? Because when we've spoken before, these are kind of...
How did you pick on that, Tom?
What a
paddle-
pivot, Tom.
What a pivot. I know. No introduction, straight into there. Maybe I'm losing my way there. Fishermen, paddleboarders, go. No. The reason I say it is because previous conversations we've had, Will, we've said people who are connected to the water perhaps have a better understanding and appreciation of the water.
Right.
So we talked about surfers and sewage with Stuart or from WWF. So perhaps here's the longer segue, Will. So do you think conversations you've had and the value of citizen science, you have a head start when you're speaking to paddleboarders and fishermen?
Oh yeah, I mean, what a great topic to talk about. How long have we got? So, Will, I know you love the area of disruptive innovation, and the digital domain and water IoT is emerging in people's vocabulary now. Well, when you think about disruption, in recent years, I've had the opportunity to work with citizen scientists, and I'm an analytical chemist. So quality of data is really important to me. So I suppose I stepped away from citizen science for a good while until I got to work with Earthwatch Europe. Okay. Amazing organization who have loads of really good projects going, and they have Freshwater Watch, which is one. And we started working with them on the River Liffey, and also with a company to look at monitoring the River Liffey and filling in, data on nutrients, specifically nitrates and phosphates. And so we kind of reached out a year and a half ago now to citizens to see would there be any interest.
And another thing occurred to me about season 2, which I think is building on season 1, is that season 1 we had 1 talented musician. This season we had 2 talented musicians. Can you name the 2?
You've put me on the spot here. My memory has gone. Who was the second one? I feel ashamed that I don't know this. Who was it?
Mark Kaney.
Of course. Yeah. Mark Kaney, the heavy metal rocker, talking about digital twins, rock and roll, being in the pub, creating the Winchester, the digital twin of a pub for his team.
I think it's interesting. I mean, you talk about pubs and that, and everyone always talks about, the British relationship with alcohol. And the first thing we talk about is, never mind the economy and jobs, when can we go down the pub? That's one of the things that actually last year, I was trying to look for ways to keep my team connected and together as they were going through all of this. And one of the things we created using some of the collaborative tools like Teams and Zoom, and that was a virtual pub. We called it the Winchester, given the topic of that in the film, Shaun of the Dead. That's been a place where we can just post silly pictures and have discussions. We even had our virtual Christmas party there, where we had quizzes, games, like a competition for making cocktails, live music from a friend of mine.
Wow.
It was as good as we could do it, right? But I guess you could argue that it was another application of where we've actually shown our ability to use technology to produce another variation of a useful digital twin. We twinned the pub.
That's amazing. You digital twinned the Winchester from Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, Mark, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I should not have forgotten that.
Mark is a rock and roll king.
Right.
And the other is Tom Higley.
So 3 musicians, if anything, right?
3?
Yang Villa from
right,
on the ukulele from season 1, and then we had Mark Kaney on the guitar, Tom Higley, professional pianist, if I'm correct, right? Musician.
Guitarist, I believe. Well, no. I think he does both. I'm sure I've seen
images of him playing the piano, right? So clearly a multi-talented musician. You've almost got a band here, right?
Well, actually, that's a great idea. So we could do a Zoom band get together with the 3 of them.
We're missing lead vocals.
Well, don't look at me.
I was looking to you to go, Tom, count me in.
Yeah, because our 2 viewers will just drop us completely, and I'd rather not see that. But
we don't want to upset the mother-in-laws, no, for sure.
But, I haven't heard Tom sing, but I believe Mark can sing.
Right.
And Yang, he made me cry with, his end of season.
Oh, that was incredible. Well, there you go. Maybe the end of season 3, because who knows, the next 10 episodes, we may well find out someone has a musical talent. And then we do that as the recap of season 3. We bring back together these musical maestros in their different areas. But it's good, I think, that you mentioned Tom Higley, because that was another fantastic discussion talking about what he's done with 10-10-10 and X Genesis in creating these wonderful phrase, he calls it catalytic communities, communities with purpose. And really, if you can direct entrepreneurs to wicked problems, wicked challenges that he calls them, then let's take a quick soundbite and look at that episode where he describes them as the lead entrepreneurs are the lever of the world. I think that would be a good point to jump in on. So would you say then, Tom, that the difference between a catalytic community and a community, because I think everyone's trying to create a community of some sense, and there's been question marks about the impact of COVID-19 on the sense of community. People have, perhaps societies have become more fractured and almost decentralized, with people coming away from that binding unity of work, right? But would you say that the difference between the catalytic community and the community is the urgency and the speed with which make it happen? Because me and Will always talk about this, the bias for action, and we like to invite people on the stream with the bias for action, hence why you're one of our guests. Would you say that is the key differentiator between, because I love that phrase, catalytic community, the very phrase, it sounds as if you're going to get stuff done.
It's the whole point. So
in short.
Well, there we go.
Catalytic community borrows from all sorts of things. So I would start with the notion of communities of practice. Communities of practice are a really powerful construct. There's lots of thinking, lots has been written. There's lots happening there. There's a not so subtle difference though, and that's that like communities of practice, catalytic communities are engaged in this shared learning. Maybe unlike communities of practice, catalytic communities are fundamentally about giving existence, giving reality to something that hasn't existed before. So it is co-creation and it's co-creation that uses this catalytic force that remains in effect unchanged, that can continue to do what it does, that catalyst. And at the same time, it creates something that's new in the world and that's significant, substantial, sizable. So catalytic communities can be raised up, can actually be formed across all sorts of interests and concerns. It's not, this isn't just water. It isn't just entrepreneurship. It really is the coming together, the working together in a way that supports those twin notions of learning and co-creation.
So what did you take out of the Tom Higley episode? I mean, he's a long-term kind of colleague and friend of yours, Will, right?
Yeah, every time I get together with Tom, Zoom these days, but now we've launched into, hey, let's get together for bourbons, which is coming up this Friday.
Oh, nice.
He challenges my thinking. I learned so much about his world. The whole discussion around catalytic communities was incredibly powerful. It just challenges my worldview of the world of water and what needs to change, and reinforces, much of it around, focusing on wicked problems, bringing in outsiders, not in the world of startups, not being a hammer looking for a nail,
right.
As they say, things like that. And, Tom is shaking things up.
I love it. And also the discussion went on to Ikigai, right? The Japanese concept. And we're kind of asking, well, have we found our Ikigai? There's kind of, the fourth strands of something the world needs, something you're good at, something you could be paid for. And my memory goes on the fourth one. But it's at the sweet spot, right? So you can, if you can find something that ticks those four boxes, and that's what Tom's trying to do, get entrepreneurs onto wicked problems to find their Ikigai. And it means that if they have a success, and then often serial entrepreneurs want to come back and do it again, that they come back to a wicked problem such as, water scarcity time and time again. It's genius.
And Tom, I think the fifth circle is music.
I think it is. I think you should probably add one to the classic. We might have to consult with entire nation around that, but hey, why not? It's like a Ikigai 2.0.
Right. And a shout out to Andrew Fisher, who who's with Water Foundry, my friend and colleague. She got me a book when we first started working together, and it was about that, Japanese culture and Ikigai, right. What it means and so on. And it's good to see it's getting attention.
It's amazing, wasn't it? I mean, there's one episode kind of earlier in the season that we haven't touched upon, and that was Damian Wells, the managing director of Coliban Water, an Australian utility. Really refreshing. I mean, we get good feedback on generally most episodes, but that one I got the most feedback and people got in touch over, just because it was, how often do you hear a utility CEO, managing director kind of openly talk around the challenges of mental health and what he did during lockdown when most of his team were working remotely, and he authorized these virtual blackout days. Do you remember? And he just said, right, no meetings, no Zoom calls. We've got to get on top of this situation with people's kind of mental health taking a strain. Really refreshing to hear it.
In view of what everyone has gone through in the past 15 months, it was just really moving to hear him talk about his focus on people. And,
right.
I think we both went in thinking, well, we're going to have a conversation about digital transformation, from Damian. And we touched on that, but it was really, really a very thought-provoking dialogue around the value of paying attention to people under extraordinary circumstances and pressure. And, he's one of those people I'd work for. I mean, Australia would be okay. So
I think actually during the episode you might have applied to work for him. I think we both did. So, Damian, if you're listening, if you have those 2 jobs in communication and water strategy, we're your guys.
Right.
But let's take a listen to some of the content from Damian. So give us a bit of context onto the kind of the why you're doing this, perhaps the investment and the scale, and then we can chat a bit more on that.
Yeah, no worries, Tom. Well, we've got two pretty big digital things running at the moment, and one of the big ones for 2020 for Coliban Water was the implementation of a new billing system, and that was heavy. I started in my role, and there'd been a lot of planning done, and we were not far off going live at that time, but I think, talking about going live with a new billing system is one thing. Actually pushing the button and going live, I think, is quite different. And so we actually took stock on where that project was at, and we did some further user acceptance testing rounds. We ended up running out to 8 or 9 rounds of user acceptance testing for our billing process, our billing project. As we had COVID hit Australia, and in Australia, Victoria was, I guess, for want of a better term, the sort of the epicenter, if you like, and it's very minor compared to what the US and Europe and everywhere else is experiencing. But it was where the first outbreak really took hold in significant scale. And we were all geared up to train everybody in person, in an actual room. And then we had to send everyone home, and we had to do user acceptance testing, data migration rounds, a whole heap of training, all remotely for the new billing system. And that was super difficult for us. And that really did challenge us in our leadership. It challenged us in how we managed our workforce wellbeing, how we managed our relationship with the vendor. And we had some pretty significant reflections after we went live. We went live on the 1st of July 2020 with the new billing system. And as most people can appreciate who've done these projects, going live is a big deal. And that first 3 to 6 months of going live, you're still finding new issues, getting fixes implemented, implementing short-term workarounds. We found ourselves explaining to some of our customers why they were getting incorrect bills. That can cause reputation harm, that can bring stress. We have, through the whole of the coronavirus period and working from home, we had a weekly pulse check where we asked people to score their well-being. We saw some pretty bad results in our workforce well-being pulse checks, and we were pretty worried about our people. And we, at times, we really realised, oh my God, we've gone from a handful of physical workplaces to now 200 workplaces, where the leadership task, was something we hadn't experienced before. It was significantly ramped up in the sense of sure people were properly connected with their teams as managers and leaders, that you really had an insight into how people were going, the hours they were working, the workload they were juggling. And also we realised that it had to be first and foremost about happy and healthy households, because until we had happy and healthy households, people can't bring their best to work. And we were putting a bit too much on from the work perspective, and people were juggling kids in lockdown, homeschooling. Some people had partners who'd lost jobs, and we really had to flip the focus to well-being. And I've got to say, we are not the font of all knowledge on this. We've got more work to do.
So, Will, great kind of recap and riff over season 2. What are you most looking forward to for season 3? I know we kind of have it mapped out in terms of the next 10 guests. And how would you like to kind of see the stream grow then and sort of go to the next level?
I really would like us to focus on outsiders, more, certainly water professionals, people that have a unique perspective on the value of water.
Yeah.
What the sector needs, and we've got people built into the schedule that will do that. I really feel strongly that we're on the right trajectory in terms of who we're bringing in, the dialogue that we're initiating, not just amongst ourselves, but people that are responding to the episodes.
Well, I think the unusual suspects is what we like to call them, right? We try to bring in different voices on the Energy Board of Food Nexus, but you also have some really great news to announce on season 3, right? That's the change. Well, not the change in the attire or the dress code, but I mean, even we're wearing it today. I mean, we're kind of pivoting from Hawaiian shirts or flannel shirts, I think we called them in season 1, and now I feel like we've found our stride with the episodes and the people. And would you say this is a fixed like sartorial choice for season 3?
Yeah, I mean, I might mix it up a little bit and wear a Hawaiian shirt under the waistcoat, to like really offend people, but
but the waistcoat stays. I love it. So even though the shirt choice changes, flannel, Hawaiian, this number, it's a permanent feature.
Always on board. Absolutely, with the new look and slightly different attitude, Tom.
I like it.
Yeah, more to come.
More to follow. So on that little not bombshell, but on that little like suspense note to say, watch this space. But just to say, it's a pleasure kind of building this with you, Will. I think we both know it's a lot of fun to do, and we're learning a lot ourselves as well, right? Every time I think we speak to a new guest, I'm personally taking on so much and finding out about new developments, which is part of the journey as well.
And who knows what we'll come up with, Tom, the next time I see you over drinks and dinner, which will be this year.
November in Amsterdam, hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, I think we're all desperate to jump on a plane and see each other in person.
Oh yeah. Big hugs to all.
Exactly. Can we bring our mother-in-laws, by the way? The two followers and the 2 fans. I mean,
Tom, we need some guardrails on what we commit to. So let's have one more.
We've gone too far. Okay, one step at a time.
I think that's a bridge too far. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
we can cut that part out, right?
Nothing gets cut out, Will. That's the golden rule. You remember that, right? Unscripted, unedited. We're not going to break that now. Well, listen, always a pleasure. Thanks for recapping this. And yeah, look forward to kickstarting season 3.
Awesome. Onward.
All right. Cheers, Will. Bye-bye.
Bye, Tom.